Have you ever heard of a pharaoh so radical, so revolutionary, that his own people tried to erase him from history? This is the story of Akhenaten, the man who dared to defy 1,000 years of tradition and rewrite the very soul of ancient Egypt. Before Akhenaten, Egypt was a land of gods: Ra, Osiris, Isis, Amun. A vast pantheon governed every aspect of life. Their temples were the centers of power, wealth, and culture. The priesthood of Amun-Ra, in particular, had grown so influential they rivaled the pharaoh himself. But when a young pharaoh named Amenhotep IV ascended the throne, he saw things differently. He saw a system that was corrupt, a faith that had become a business. He believed in something simpler, something more pure. In the 5th year of his reign, he made his move. He changed his name from Amenhotep, which meant Amun is satisfied, to Akhenaten, meaning effective for the Aten. The Aten was the disk of the sun, a deity once minor, but one Akhenaten saw as the single, universal creator of all life. This wasn't just a name change, it was a declaration of war on the old gods. Akhenaten declared that the Aten was the only god. For the first time in recorded history, a ruler enforced monotheism. It was a seismic shock to Egyptian society. He ordered the grand temples of Amun and the other gods to be closed. He sent workers across the land to chisel away the names and images of the old deities from monuments and tombs. Imagine the scale of this erasing gods that your ancestors had worshipped for countless generations. It was unthinkable, but Akhenaten didn't stop there. He abandoned Thebes, the magnificent capital of the empire, and led his followers into the desert. There, in a virgin site between the cliffs and the Nile, he built a brand new city from scratch. He called it Akhenaten, the horizon of the Aten. This was to be his utopia, a city dedicated solely to the worship of the sun disk. Palaces, temples, and homes were built at a feverish pace. The art style itself was transformed. The rigid, idealized forms of pharaohs were replaced with a startling, almost alien naturalism. Akhenaten was depicted with an elongated skull, a slender neck, and a protruding belly, a far cry from the godlike figures of his predecessors. From his new capital, Akhenaten, along with his famous queen, Nefertiti, presided over their new religion. They were the sole intermediaries between the Aten and humanity. The old afterlife, with its complex rituals and journey through the underworld, was gone. Now, life was to be lived in the light of the Aten, and the pharaoh's family was the perfect model of this new existence. But while the royal family basked in the sun god's light, the empire began to fray. With the old temples closed, the economy, which was deeply intertwined with them, faltered. The military, once the pride of Egypt, was neglected as Akhenaten focused on his spiritual revolution. Letters from vassal states in the Near East pleaded for help against invaders, but their cries went unanswered. At home, the common people were confused and resentful. Their gods had been taken from them, their traditions shattered. The chaos Akhenaten had unleashed in the heavens was now being mirrored on earth. After 17 years of this radical experiment, Akhenaten died. His end is shrouded in mystery. What followed, however, was a backlash of epic proportions. His young son, Tutankhaten, was swiftly guided by the old guard to restore the traditional pantheon. He changed his name to Tutankhamen, the living image of Amun, and abandoned the city of Akhenaten, leaving it to crumble back into the desert sands. The pharaohs who followed Horemheb and Seti I were determined to wipe Akhenaten's heresy from the records completely. They launched a campaign to destroy his monuments, tear down his temples, and chisel his name from every inscription. They referred to him only as that criminal or the enemy of Akhenaten. For 3,000 years, they almost succeeded. Akhenaten became a ghost, a forgotten king from a bizarre and troubling chapter of Egypt's past. But history has a way of remembering. In the 19th century, archaeologists rediscovered the ruins of his lost city, and slowly, the story of the heretic pharaoh was pieced back together. What are we to make of him? Was he a madman whose obsession brought a golden age to the brink of collapse? Or was he a visionary, a philosopher king born thousands of years before his time? His dream of a single, universal god failed in his own lifetime, but the idea itself was revolutionary. It would echo through the ages, reappearing in different forms, in different cultures, long after the sands had reclaimed his city. Akhenaten's revolution was ultimately erased, but the questions he raised about faith, power, and the nature of divinity itself continue to fascinate us to this day. Thanks for watching. If you found this journey into ancient Egypt's most controversial reign as fascinating as I did, please hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the hidden corners of history. See you next time.